For me, and probably for a lot of other people, going to Disney World is hugely nostalgic. It's a formative experience, a ritual, and that's because Disney engineered it to be that way. In fact, my sister once took a university course on it. But let's just say this: nostalgia and memory are powerful. Are you using them intentionally in your business and in your parenting? Welcome to Market Like a Parent and Parent Like a Marketer, where we explore the connections between parenting and marketing and what one can teach us about the other. I'm Danielle Weil, founder of DW Copy and creator of LaunchFlow. I'm a married mom of four living on a kibbutz in Israel. I'm a marketing strategist, launch expert, and I have been helping business owners for over 20 years to the tune of over $100 million in sales. I help business owners figure out their core marketing narrative and create all the strategy and copy that flows from that. And today I want to talk about the power of nostalgia and memory. Now, when I was younger, my mom used to sing to me before bed the song "This Land Is Your Land" as a bedtime lullaby. And I found out later that it's because her mom sang it to her. Always the first two verses. She didn't actually remember more than that. So we got the first two verses and then a chorus, a little bit off key. And then I decided when I had my own kids that I wanted them to have bits and pieces of their American heritage. That was important to me. And so I intentionally sang them "This Land Is Your Land" before I put them to bed. In fact, that was my go-to bedtime lullaby. Always the first two verses. And now when my big girls put the little ones to bed, which they do, having big kids is fun, I can actually hear them singing "This Land Is Your Land" as a bedtime lullaby. 4 generations of a bedtime lullaby, of repetition, of nostalgia. For a song that, it's a nice song, but it doesn't have any particular meaning to us other than that memory. We sing it because my mom sang it to me, because her mom sang it to her. The point is, we do things that are passed down from previous generations, and we may not always know the story behind them. We might know, we might not know, but we do them anyway because they have been passed down. Most of our kids' songs and nursery rhymes are generations old, passed down just the same way. Why? Because song and music are great mnemonics. Whatever your generation, whatever country you're from, you probably have a list of advertising jingles that you can recite from memory. I am stuck on Band-Aid brand. I love the fishes because they're so delicious. Now, I'm not a singer, but if you were born in the 80s and early 90s, you know those jingles if you grew up in the US. So why is nostalgia, memory, and song so powerful? Because when we talk about the shortcuts that our brain uses to make decisions, there's one logical fallacy that goes something like this. Back in the old days, things were better. It was a simpler time. And even though that is by no means true, there's always that desire and yearning to go back to that time. We assume that things were better in the past. And it's no accident that Disney's Main Street has this folksy back in time theme. There's Frontierland. Romanticization of the past is real. And it does go back to those early childhood memories when our brains are plastic and impressionable and we're soaking everything up and things are more potent. They're more colorful when we remember them as kids. But part of the romanticization of the past is simple. It's an expression of the desire to escape a current painful reality. Right now, things kind of suck. The past was better. And going back to the past becomes the way to solve all of your problems in the present. If I could only go back to when I was young and things were easier and I didn't have to think about paying bills or managing relationships or making ends meet, things were simpler back then. If only we could go back. So what are people nostalgic about in your business? What harkens back to a simpler time that you can remind people of and tap into? Even just mentioning song titles and jingles to your audience in your content can actually be a way to connect with them. Now, this doesn't just tap into nostalgia, it taps into the shared memory and feeling that sense of belonging. What is it about these jingles, about the shared culture that is so powerful? The friends jokes, the inside jokes, what is it about that? It gives us that feeling of belonging. And if you can make your people feel like they belong in your world, in your community, with your people, with your product, if you can create that rapport, if you can create that know, like, and trust by speaking to a very specific audience with a very specific cultural reference that they will for sure get, why would you not do that? Super powerful. And for your kids, going back to the parenting for a moment, they will look through those rose-tinted glasses at the past, and they won't remember all the fights you had in the car on the road trip. They'll remember the fun, crazy thing that happened, because that is what we remember, the pattern interrupts, the things that are different and memorable. But how can you even more intentionally create those rituals, those moments that they'll look back on fondly? A friend of mine talks about how every Friday night with their daughter, they actually will go out to eat at a restaurant and they'll have family dinner out. And it's something that their daughter really looks forward to the point where if for some reason they can't do it, if they can't go out, she's really disappointed. And having the Friday night going out for dinner ritual gives them space to talk about what happened, facilitate conversations, build relationships. She will look back on those memories with fondness and nostalgia. What songs do you have? What shared inside jokes? What family only references do you have? What is your family language with your kids? What is your shared inside language with your customers in your marketing? What terms do you use that only if they're in the club will they understand? And how can you use both this idea of creating ritual and memory and the nostalgia that's attached with it in your business? So as you are thinking about ways that you can preempt that nostalgia, that you can think about what are you creating in your home and in your business that years from now, your kids will look back on fondly? And what can you reference for your people that they will look back on fondly to create this powerful connection with them? Until next time, I'm Danielle Weil. Let's go out there and